All right, we are live. Another week, another what the F happened. I almost said it. You notice, catch that? What the F happened. Now, what this show is a show where we go through the news, white papers that we subscribe to from different economists, and we rant, we rave, and we will argue with folks. That is what this show has come to be. And today's episode, it's going to be just me. Stephen, is stuck doing something. But the one thing I will tell you is in today's episode, we're going to cover, of course, the LA wildfires and the fires that have been sweeping California and just destroying just thousands of homes and lives. Not only are we going to cover that, we're going to cover the TikTok ban. If any of you have been following, it's 5 days, I think. 5 days or 4 days left until that decision. You've got January 20th, 5 days away, the Trump inauguration. You've got Biden just out there wreaking havoc. We're going to cover the havoc that Biden's been doing, or the Biden administration's been doing right before Trump takes over. I'm going to make some predictions of things that I'm seeing and things I know and also things I'm reading that, the Biden administration, the Dems are literally provoking a recession so that when Trump takes over, boom, we're in a recession. I'm going to show you why I think that. Now, it's my opinion. I can't tell you that that's going to happen, but all the signs point to one place. And I've got a couple other things that we're going to be covering today, not just energy, but we're going to be covering, the recession stuff. And we're also going to be covering the External Revenue Service. You may or may not have heard about that. It's Trump's newest thing. So we're going to get into all of that today on what the F happened. Thanks for joining. We'll be right back after this. All right. We're back at it. Thanks for joining us. We got everybody coming in from YouTube right now. What's up, John, Dex? What's up, Steve, Chris, Lynn, Nayla? And then we also got everybody coming in from Instagram. So we stream on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. The only one we no longer stream on is TikTok. Kind of funny. And we're going to be talking about TikTok today. But we got Jet Abdallah coming in. Good morning at work. Just listening, but happy Wednesday to you as well. Let's dive right in. And, I'm going to start a little bit different place. I'm going to start with the markets, the stock market. Any of you been following that? So if you have, I did last week. I covered, the Christmas, the whole Santa Claus rally, the 5 days before or the 5 first days of January, the signs of how 2025 is going to shape up. There are literally very precise signals and signs of whether or not 2025 is going to be a good year of the markets or it's going to be a bad year. And those, we have two confirmed, two of the things. We missed the Santa Claus rally and the first 5 days of the market definitely hit their mark. And basically, so 2 of the 3 indicators point 2025 is going to be a down, bumpy, rocky roller coaster of a ride. So with that, I want to talk a little bit about what you are seeing. And we're going to cover this quite a bit today. And I've been talking about this a lot. If you've been paying attention on Wealth Webinar, which we've got going on this afternoon at 1 p.m. So if any of you want to join us at 1 p.m. this afternoon, that's Eastern time, you just go to chrisnaugle.com. That's Naugle. Register for Wealth Webinar. You get my books for free and there's no cost for it. We're going to be showing you how to get all the money back for every car you ever buy, drive, and own. A brand new training that we just came up with. We're going to show you buying a Toyota Camry, a Tesla, and then a Ford Raptor. And we're going to show you how much money you would make. I know this sounds crazy, right? How much money you would make buying these 3 cars, not selling the cars. You don't have to sell them, just buying them using your own banking system. So indeed, you will get all the money back, but you will make money for buying cars, which is not the norm, right? So we're going to cover that at 1 o'clock. So make sure you guys register for that. It's going to be a showstopper. But let's dive into the market. So right now, headline news, as the markets are still not open, but we are looking at the Dow futures. The Dow futures are up 657 points. The S&P is up 82 points. The NASDAQ is up 341 points. I mean, come on. It's a rocking and rolling. The markets are just going to go to the moon. Or are they? Well, this is an interesting one. So I'm trying to really gain, an understanding of why the markets are rallying today. Yesterday was a little bit of a bumpy session, but I think they came out positive for the most part. But here's what it all hinges on. This is what it all hinges on. Now, this is where you got to kind of, take the fake 3D glasses off. You got to put up the oh shit, signals. But here you go. Why is the market so high? Core inflation rate slows to 3.2% in December, less than expected. You see in the theme here, I've been doing this show for a while, and you should be seeing the theme here, less than expected, until they revise the numbers, until you realize that the core inflation rate excludes a lot of the things that actually you're dealing with. And folks, when you really boil it down and you're looking at this, we're getting excited that core inflation slowed to 3.2%. Now, hold on. I wish I had like a little sound machine to hit the brakes, like it's just a car squealing to a stop. 3.2. 3.2. Not long ago, we were under 3%. Not long ago, I remember 2.7%. Anyway, am I crazy? Like, was that a dream? Is this deja vu? Or am I actually remembering that we were moving the right direction for a little while, and then all of a sudden, inflation ticked back up, and now we're super pumped that we're at 3.2. Wasn't the Fed's target 2%? I'm just asking for a friend. Like, hey, maybe some of you know that, that was 2%, but I don't know. I feel like I don't remember anything. I feel like everything that I remember hearing is just a farce, because I think the Fed's target was 2%. That's why they were raising interest rates so fast. That's why the cost of goods went up so much. That's why they pulled the rug out from underneath banks, and banks really stopped lending. There's a ton of banks that literally just said, we're not lending on certain categories. Sincerely, they literally said, we're not lending, because it just economically didn't make sense. There was too much risk. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze. And banks are still struggling. We work with lots of developers, and they're really, really having a hard time because banks are just not closing. They're kicking the can and pushing the cans. But now the markets are getting themselves in a frenzy, a FOMO-driven frenzy here, because rates slowed to 3.2. Excuse my language, but fuck that. We're not moving the right direction. We were moving the wrong direction. We were going the wrong way, but yet everybody's rallying. It's just what you see in the news. Don't look over here. Look over here. Everything's fine over here because, in the news, hold on. JP Morgan Chase tops estimates on better than expected interest income. You don't freaking say. Better than expected interest income. How many of you are excited that JP Morgan Chase beat their estimates because their interest income went up? Who paid that interest income? Look in the mirror, folks. Wherever your mirror is, just look in it. You did. You paid it. Congratulations. You helped JP Morgan Chase come out better than expected because the Fed increased interest rates, making it so banks that could tap into the Fed's balance sheet, which clearly JP Morgan Chase can tap into the Fed funds and tap into the balance sheet of the Fed. So they get money super cheap. And then when interest rates went up because the Fed raised interest rates because, oh my God, we got to curb inflation. We didn't create this dragon. We got to slay the inflation dragon. Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry, Jerome, hold on a second. You're in charge of monetary policy, right? You're the one that decides if the Treasury prints more money or doesn't print more money. You sons of bitches printed $5.2 trillion, and you wonder why inflation went nuts? Oh, I wonder. Oh, gosh, I wonder why inflation went crazy. $5.2 trillion is a lot of money. We're going to cover that in a little bit on how they didn't even spend all the 5.2. But, under Biden's watch, another 5 days left. He's making sure he's spending that $5.2 trillion that's unspended by putting contracts in place out 3 to 5 years into the future to make sure that all that printed money, that taxpayer printed money gets spent. Oh, can you tell I'm a little fucking pissed off? This is bullshit. Any of you that buy into this, that think the markets are going to keep going higher, that are super pumped that JP Morgan Chase is topping estimates because you are paying them more in interest income. But hold on, it gets better. Citigroup swings to a fourth quarter profit, tops estimates on investment banking strength. Wow. Wells Fargo shares jump after beating strong 2025 guidance. Are you seeing a common theme here? Every one of those banks I just mentioned, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, what do they have? Oh, they have a direct line to the Fed. That's right. They can tap into the Fed's balance sheet, the printed money that you and I have to pay back. Yeah, they can tap into that, which means they get super cheap interest rates. So then when they lend the money at these high interest rates today, you seen what they're charging these days? You look at what mortgages are. Mortgages can't even figure out what is it going to do. Is it going to go up, going to go down, going to go up, going to go down? They don't even fucking know. Excuse my language. I'm just on fire today. So, you guys, some of you might have to say, oh, earmuffs, put the earmuffs on, because I'm not holding back today. This is just nonsense. So if any of you are buying into this bullshit, thinking your 401k is going to keep going up, you are being bamboozled. You're being tricked. You're being led off the end of the plank. And they don't even need to have a sword to get you to walk out there. They just keep posting bullshit in the news like this. And the markets just keep rallying and going higher and higher. And everybody thinks, oh, it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be good. Look at the returns. Look at all these companies are doing well. Banks, maybe. For now, maybe. But what we're looking at is we're looking in the rear view mirror. Investors are looking in the rear view mirror. I just met with a gentleman from Buffalo. He's done well for himself, saved a bunch of money in his 401k. And I tried telling him, like, hey, you are invested, because he's in his 70s. I said, you're invested way too aggressively. He's like, well, I made this much in the past and I did this much last year. I said, great, good for you. That doesn't mean you're going to make that this year. Matter of fact, I'll bet you any money you're going to lose this year. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I still get dividends and I get this. And I'm like, you are fucking delusional. I didn't say that to him, but I wanted to. I just so wanted to grab him by the shoulders and shake him and say, are you crazy? I only had one cup of coffee, just letting you all know. But you can't do that. I can't just grab him by the shoulders and shake him. I can't slap him and say, wake up. I can't say, you're an idiot. I just got to say, okay, good. Great job. Pat him on the ass and say, best of luck. Oh, yeah, you don't want to do those specially designed whole lives. Oh, no, why would I ever put money in the specially designed whole life? And then I got to borrow the money back. That's stupid. Let me go talk to my financial advisor. Oh, yeah, he said that that's a stupid thing too. Stupid is as stupid does, motherfucker. Anyway, yes, you guys are learning a new language today. It's called the F word. All right, so 1 hour ago, Wall Street has high hopes for strong earnings in 2025. Of course they do. Yep. All the while Biden and his cronies are going out there literally laying the foundation for just chaos. Hold on, let me read you this one. I should just post this. I should just put it up, and then I'm going to come over because I gotta calm down here a little bit. I think my blood pressure is probably a little high right now. So I'm going to go to some questions in a second. But let's just read this here real quick. You probably didn't see this one in the news. And we're going to talk about a lot of things you definitely didn't see in the news. But here you go. Right here. Biden's not done hurting America. No. Because what is Biden doing? Well, yeah, let's see. And Biden is taking things down to the wire with damaging new policies announced on the almost daily basis. The latest outrage involves a ban on new offshore gas and oil drilling in Alaska, the East Coast, the West Coast, and most of the Gulf of Mexico. Hence, remember, Trump came in and said he's going to rename the Gulf of Mexico or something to that extent. If Trump wants to reverse this, he may have to go to court he seems to do quite well in court, right? To overturn Biden's order or even get an act of Congress. In the meantime, you'll pay more for everything since everything uses energy. Your glasses you're wearing, your hat you're wearing, your shirt you're wearing, your shoes you put on this morning, the car you drove in, everything you touch involves energy. And Mr. Biden, good for him, is going out there making sure you have to pay more. Woo! Good shit. Let's keep going here. All right. So let me stop sharing on that one. I think you get enough of that. Now I got to do one more and then I'm going to come over and get questions. Right here, I thought this was a really, really well put together article. And I kind of mentioned this earlier. So here we go. 5 days. That's the countdown. In 5 days, Trump will be the president yet again. Okay. Trump 2.0, Orange Man 2.0. There are lots of things out there. Okay. So, but Biden is going to make sure, and is it really Biden? Because I mean, let's, I don't want to get kicked off here. Let's all be honest. Does Biden even know what left or right is? Does Biden know how to put his underpants on in the morning? I mean, come on. Really? Biden's doing all this? He's the one making these calls? I'll leave that one up to the audience. But anyway, right here. So this whole thing, I'm not going to get into it, kind of goes back to 82, looks at, the Carter years, and then, basically kind of talks about how Reagan took over and what he took over was just a mess. And then it goes through and just talks about Biden walked into the White House and confronted eye-popping interest rate increases on the former Reagan. It just kind of goes into this whole thing, but let's get to the chase of this. Essentially, what they're basically saying is all the things that Biden is doing right now, what they're going to do is literally force a recession upon the new administration. I'm seeing it. I really am. Maybe you're not, but you wouldn't if you're watching the news. I used to have this conversation with my mom. My mom would watch the news and she'd be like, well, Chris, like, I know you're always saying like things are going to, be rough, but like I watch the news and it looks like everything's good. Of course it is. Of course it is. I mean, the news is always right? That's why the news is always saying things like, well, less than expected. They're always putting stuff like that. So these articles, I mean, I don't want to bore all of you, but it's basically just explaining, what the heck's going on here. There's lots of stuff that mimics what happened before Reagan took over. And if any of you remember the Reagan era, the first 2 years were a mess. Markets were falling apart. Inflation was high. I mean, it was just a bloody mess. But then the last two, and when he kind of fixed things, which is kind of a mirror of similar to what, Trump's proposing, which we're going to talk about that on today's show. But there's just so many things that are happening right now that are being laid the foundation for right now that literally will turn the corner and we'll end up in a recession. Right here, U.S. auto industry is in horrible shape, but you didn't hear that in the news. No. Real estate mess. Yeah, real estate's getting bad. Real estate's definitely not in a great place. So it just kind of goes on and just talks about all that. So again, I don't want to bore you with all this stuff, but it's just between all the things he's signing into force, all the contracts, which you're never going to see in the news, all the contracts he's signing to spend money for the next 3 to 5 years because they couldn't spend $5.2 trillion in the time that they had. They did a lot of damage, but hey, $5.2 trillion is a lot of money. And a lot of that money has not been spent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause here real quick. Let's come up here to Instagram. We got any questions coming in? I don't think so. Looks like everybody's just kind of like, wow, this guy's crazy. He had too much coffee, but I didn't. I had 1 cup of coffee this morning. All right, let's come down here. We got lots of stuff flying in here from YouTube. Love YouTube. Oh, also real quick shout out. So today there is a new video going up on BYO Porsche. So make sure you go to BYO Porsche on YouTube. That's our new channel. And that channel is all about the journey, chasing the dream and embracing the journey of Porsche ownership. Now, whether you like Porsches or not, it's a really cinematic, fun journey where we interview and talk to other Porsche owners about how their first idea of the car came into the thing. Mine was a poster on the wall when I was a child, and how you never forget that. And you work your whole life up to that dream, that goal of actually owning one. Now, all of you, maybe some of you have the goal of owning a Tesla, or maybe it's a Raptor, or maybe it's some other car. It doesn't matter. Porsches are what this show's about. But even if you don't like Porsches, you should go on and subscribe and check it out, because the sound, the engine sound, and the music and the way we have put this channel together will blow your mind. So the first one goes up today, and then we're going to have a video every single month hitting. Short little plug there for the new YouTube channel. Check it out. All right, let's get into these questions here. So Dex said, new LA County after burning down the old one, just my opinion. So we'll get into the LA stuff going on in a second. Marcus, what's going on? Let's see what's happening. FCAT. Mustafa, let's see. I'm starting a heavy equipment reselling business. Your thoughts on that? I think it's great. Heavy equipment reselling business. So as you all know, like I started investing in forklifts, where I actually buy the forklifts, and I have a relationship with this company called United Lift, and they rehab and refurbish those lifts, and they do a bunch of other equipment, but I focus on just the forklifts. And then they've got the sales team that goes out and sells these refurbished forklifts, and then we split the profits. So Mustafa, I think that's a great business. I mean, hey, listen, even in good times, bad times, you're always going to need heavy equipment. I mean, they need a bunch of heavy equipment out in LA. So should be a good business for you. Let's see what else we got. Shane, what's up, Shane? Shane said, smoke and mirrors, got to wait for Trump to be sworn in before they tank the market. I couldn't agree more. I think that's exactly what we're going to see, and make the new administration look bad. Yeah, bad Trump, bad Trump, bad Trump. You know, he comes in and all of a sudden the market falls apart, and everybody's just going to be like, oh, I told you so. I told you so. You watch. They're quiet now, but you watch what happens, and then they're just going to do the same thing they did last time. Point blame, point blame. Oh, it's his fault. It's his fault. No, it isn't. It's the prior administration. In every situation, in almost every situation, the problem starts in the prior administration. Now, it is a unique one when the Biden administration took over Trump. I mean, we took over the Biden administration took over during COVID. So yeah, you could argue kind of took over a pretty bad scenario, but they made it a lot worse. And I know there's some folks, I'm not streaming on TikTok, otherwise we'd be hearing a bunch of people saying, oh, the Biden administration did everything well. Look at unemployment was down, and this and that and the other thing. Unemployment was down because nobody was fucking working during COVID. Holy crap. Wake up and smell the coffee. Like, there was no one working. You know, when Trump was finishing his term and when Biden was taking over, nobody was working. I mean, you weren't working, were you? I mean, unless you were an essential business, which we were, because we had a news channel called WTF, but most people weren't working. So therefore, unemployment numbers were super high. And then Biden comes in, opens the country back up, and voila, everybody, well, I'm not, but, and I know a bunch of you aren't, but they forced vax on just about everybody. Lots of things coming out about that now. How's that going? And then all of a sudden they open it back up, and then now they're heroes because everybody's employed. Oh, and there was $5.2 trillion of money that was printed. Did I say that already? Yeah. So I think you're right. They're going to tank the market. Yep. And the new administration is going to look bad. Yep. And yeah, that's, I told you so, right? That's what they're going to be saying. Dex said Capital One in a lawsuit for screwing customers, $2.1 billion in interest. I saw that. Anyone else see that? $2.1 billion. You know who else is getting sued right now? Wells Fargo. Yep. Money laundering, actually. Some money laundering shit. And there's another bank. What was that one? I covered that not long ago. A big bank. TD Bank. I don't, it's funny. You haven't even heard about that. They were fined massively for literally aiding the cartel, like literally money laundering operations for the cartel. Yeah. But you didn't hear about that. You heard about it like one day, and then, oh, nope, not good news. Banks are freaking just nuts. That's why we tell everybody they should just become their own bank. Like, if banks are crooked and banks are screwing people and constantly being sued for literally what Dex just said, screwing customers out of money, well, let's just say, fuck you, banks, and let's start our own bank. All right, shameless plug. Heads, they win. Tails, they lose. Are you talking about the Bills game? Bills and Ravens coming up this weekend. Yeah, bit of a nail biter. If any of you are Bills fans, you're probably feeling the way I am. The Ravens, Henry, good Lord. That dude's a beast, man. Can you just, any of you imagine, like I'm 5'4", I'm weighing in at about $155 today. Imagine me on the field, and then there's Henry on the other side, and I'm covering him, and the dude gets the ball, which he always seems to get the ball, and he's running straight at me. Now, that would go viral because he'd hit me and I'd literally probably fly through the end zone, and you'd probably see me make a field goal before the ball ever went. It'd just be, I bounced off Henry, and yeah, anyway, you get the drift. I don't know where I was going with that, but yes, heads they win, tails they lose. I think that's the Bills game. Just got on, but TLT and TLH is low. Yes, buy. Okay, because just today yields are going down on treasuries, okay, which is going to drive price up. So we're going to have an increase in price today on TLT. But, basically the same thing I've been saying. It's been a bit of a rocky road for any of you that are holding, any treasury bonds, long-term treasury bonds. Well, because things are just wacky. Things should get back on track, when the new administration comes in. You might see a little bit more stability, and you'll see things operate the way they're supposed to be. But look, don't be scared about it. Just go with it and keep dollar cost averaging in. That's what I would say on that. It's not investment advice or recommendation, just telling you how it works. Didn't know if you said anything about them yet. No, haven't mentioned them yet, Justin, but thanks for bringing them up. Taxpayers, tell us how you really feel. Good morning. Prayers for everybody in California, and have a blessed 2025. I love Unhinged. Thank you much. What about the Biden post you put on IG about medical payments? Yeah. So Justin's mentioned, and I put a post up on IG. Now, you can take the post for however you want, okay? But every once in a while, you'll find me kind of saying something good about Biden. So in this one, I go in and I actually say he has done something good here, which is basically with medical debt. What Biden is doing, not only is Biden paying off everybody's student loans, or so he says, except for he's not paying any of yours. Has anyone had Biden pay off their student loan? Put I in the chat. Instagram, anyone had Biden pay off their student loans? Because it's kind of funny. Like when I look at how many student loans he quote unquote has paid off, I haven't met a single person who's had their student loans paid off. Andrew, you know anyone that has had their student loans paid off by Biden?
I asked about it, and I'm not eligible because I have $20,000 in student loans.
Of course you're not eligible. No. I'm sure most of you watching this right now are not eligible either. But it's kind of funny. Like he just keeps paying student loans off. Whose fucking student loan is he paying off? Like hundreds of billions of dollars of student loans, but it ain't nobody we know. Guess we're in the wrong circle. Who's? Yeah. Oh, well, Hunter's student loans, of course, got paid off. Yeah. Of course they did. Yep. Yeah, in MT Green regarding Henry and Ravens. Yeah, he dude's a beast. And listen, like, what's up with the half shirt? Like, I don't watch any other football players rock half shirts, but Henry, he's rocking a half shirt, kind of like these teeny boppers that are running around, like the half shirt, like they kind of got their Lululemon, tights on, come up to their belly button, and then you can kind of see their belly, and then they got a half shirt. That's like Henry. Is it just because the dude is that big, they don't make a jersey big enough to cover his belly? I don't know. Anyway, sorry, keep going here. Let's see what else we got. Yes, 964 Coupe. Whoo, Jeff. Yeah, it's a hell of a car. I think 964s. I love the body style, but I'd rather, for the same dollars, I'd rather have the 993. Just saying, you got the 964s, and then you got the 993 variant. The 993, I got one of them out back. That is the ultimate air-cooled Porsche ever made. Now, I know a lot of people prefer the look of the 964, but dollar for dollar, like if you go with a 964 Coupe and a 993 Coupe, they're both running about that low $100,000 range. I don't know. It's a tough call. 1983 Rabbit. That's badass. All right. Let's see. What else we got? Bug Boss said, so please explain, like, I'm 5. How do I pay back the loan against the whole life insurance policy? Well, Bug Boss, it's a great question. You should join us this afternoon for Wealth Webinar at 1 p.m. or any of my YouTube channels. I'm going to be showing you how that exactly works. This show is about the news, not about teaching the infinite banking concept or how it works. But the loan is paid back the same way you pay loans right now to a traditional bank. Let me just kind of give you a quick synopsis. You probably have a car loan, right? and even if you don't, just pretend you do. You got a car loan. You make payments to a bank or finance company of principal and interest, do you not? Okay. Now just imagine you had money sitting in a whole life. You took a loan from the insurance company and you used that loan to pay off that car finance company. So you no longer owe the car finance company, but now you make the same car payment you were making to their bank, but now you pay that same car payment back to your policy. Dollar for dollar, exactly the same amount. You paid the loan off and now you're making payments back to your policy. Every single car payment you make now is money that you have back in your account. But wait, there's more. The money you took out of the policy, if the policy is designed right with the right company, all of the money that you had in your policy that you took a loan from to pay off that car loan, that money is still in your policy earning interest and dividends. And the insurance companies that we work with are between 5.75 and 6.4% dividend crediting rate. So that's your gross earnings you're making on your money. So effectively over time, not a lot of time, but even like 3 years, you're going to be making a spread from what your cost of capital was, the loan from the insurance company, to what the insurance company is paying you in dividend crediting rate. You're making money there. So literally, the insurance company is paying you more in dividends and interest than what they're charging you to use your money. So you make a spread there, then you pay off a loan, and then you take the loan from the car payment and you make it back to your policy, because why wouldn't you? You're not losing any of the money. And now you're recycling and recapturing the same interest you were giving away before, but now you're keeping it all. So you're making money twice on the same dollar. Again, join us this afternoon at 1 o'clock, but hopefully that kind of helps. Shane said he's in love with the late 60 convertible Camaros. Who isn't? I mean, come on. That's a badass car. What was that movie? It'll come to me. It was John Cusack in it, but he had one of those 1960s Camaro, but it was a hardtop. That was not a convertible. TD was fined about $3 billion for that. Yeah, no big deal, Chris, right? Just $3 billion. No one cares. No big deal. Hey, no, nothing to see over here. Just $3 billion fine. TD Bank, they were just aiding the cartel. Who cares? No big deal. No big deal. And, the other bank is just finding or charging the shit out of you in interest and lying to you. Yeah, that would be no big deal either. Let's see what else we got. Chris Ash said the Supreme Court keeps striking down Biden's attempts to pay off student loans. Yeah, but then he keeps paying off student loans, or he keeps saying he's paying off student loans. Now that's a novel thought, isn't it? Seeing as though no one on here knows anyone who has had their student loan paid off. No one that I've talked to has had their student loan paid off. So are they really paying the student loans off, or are they just saying they are? Like lying, could they just be lying? I don't know. Anyway, Michelle said deferred paying a dollar a month. Yeah, but that's deferred. They didn't pay it off. Deferral and paid off are drastically different things. Anyway, let's see. Not mine, Dexter. Let's see. Need a charger, please. Yeah, give me a charger. 67 people watching. Why isn't there 67 likes yet? I don't know what you're getting at there, Ray. We got 81 people watching on YouTube, and then, a handful of people going up, bopping around on Instagram. Yeah, I don't look at how many people are watching. Like, the people that are on here enjoy the show. The people that aren't are saying, well, hey, how come you don't have 67 likes? I don't know. Hey, can everybody give me a like right now? Like, can everybody just pause and right now just throw a like so that we can show Ray that there's actually 81 likes, not 67. But thanks, Ray. I should have called that out every time. Bug Boss 45 back at 1. Thanks. Found your channel last night. Wish you would pay my student loans. Don't we all? And I got one more up here on Instagram that I'd be remiss not to hit. Let's see. MT Green said, I've already paid off my loan. I would like a reimbursement. How about that, right? Here's what everybody should do. And any of you that have paid off your student loans, you should literally send a letter to Biden, the Biden administration, saying, hey, you nice folks over there, I'd like a reimbursement. Yeah. I paid my student loans off, and I kind of regret that because you're just paying everybody else's loans. Can you send me a reimbursement? It's a novel idea. I like that a lot. Let's see. Photos by Jiga said, logic and common sense is a rare and beautiful thing. Speaking my language. Can't disagree with not even one thing you've said so far. Keep up the awesome work. Keep educating the sheeple. I love it, man. Yeah, the funny thing is, though, Photos by Jiga, is you can't really educate the sheeple. They just follow the herds. They just conform. They just conform to everybody else's opinions and failed, dreams and failed ideas. So we don't really do this show to educate the sheeple. We do this show to educate the creators, all of you, the 5%ers. And I hate to say that, but like this show isn't for the 95% because they're just going to sit there. The 95% are the, no disrespect, but are the TikTokers that I used to go live on that always had something negative to say, never had anything positive to say. But anyway, that was enough with the questions. They were great. Thank you. Better Off Dead. That's it. Better Off Dead. Ocean 888. Ding, ding, ding. That was the movie with the Camaro. What an amazing movie. Many of you, if you're millennials or Gen Zs or anything like that, you've never even heard of the movie Better Off Dead, but you should watch it. It's John Cusack. Awesome, awesome movie. And the artwork, like the cartoons in that video or that movie, wild. Had to switch to your YouTube. Thanks. YouTube's where it's at. Yep, 69 Camaro Fastback. That's what that car was. All right, let's get into some more stuff because I got a lot to cover. And well, we just went on a really cool rant there. So TikTok. Since I just talked about that, I'd like to continue the discussions on TikTok. Now, this is pretty interesting. So I'm just going to share my screen here. This is an article from, again, a different economist that we subscribe to. Probably spend way too much money on these economist white papers. But right here, 6 days until the TikTok ban. So this is interesting. Never before has Congress taken such extraordinary steps in effectively banning a platform for communication, let alone one that is used by half the country. Literally, TikTok's a pretty big one, especially among young folks, because just the other day I was out snowboarding, and a guy that I used to compete with, he was like a young Grom back then, but he came up and he says, "Hey, I watch you on TikTok. Keep up the good work." And I'm like, I don't even go on my TikTok. Yes, we post stuff up on there, but I don't spend really any time on TikTok anymore. But my grandma, or Larissa's grandma, has a TikTok channel. She's got like 10,000 followers. It's her TikTok channel, if you want to check it out, is called The Gray Goose Grandma. And you can kind of figure it out. She's usually drinking Gray Goose and cranberry while she's baking and dancing and doing all sorts of things. But she's gotten so popular on TikTok, and she's in her 80s. She's gotten so popular on TikTok that literally there's hundreds of people that pay her like $2 for a subscription to her show. And she goes live and does all sorts of really cool things. And like for Christmas, like literally her fans on TikTok sent her gifts, like tons of gifts. I was blown away. I'm like, man, ain't nobody on TikTok sending me any gifts except for a lump of coal. I'm not very well liked on TikTok. When I go on there, people hate me. Why? Because I'm telling them the truth, and they don't want to hear the truth. They just want to conform to what everybody else is telling. But anyway, let's get back to this right here. Platforms used by 170 million Americans to exercise their First Amendment rights. Faces death sentence next Sunday. So next Sunday is the day. On Friday, lawyers for TikTok and some of TikTok's users tried to get a last-minute reprieve before the U.S. Supreme Court. Yep, didn't go so well. Right down here, no such evidence exists for the outlandish claim or any other, certainly nothing that's ever been made public. So I don't know what they're referring to there. I'm just reading it. Small businesses. Let's really get into this one, because I think this is where you really got to kind of look at this and say, should they really ban TikTok? Because there's a huge small business impact. Now, if any of you are small business owners, you may or may not use TikTok to sell your goods, but there are a lot of people that do. I know a lot of people that have like stuff they sell on TikTok, either through click funnels or, they're just going on there and selling direct. And there's even a marketplace on there now. But right here, TikTok is the best social media platform for small businesses without a debt, says this Kimberly lady from Akron Lights Candle Company. So in Georgia, 90% of our sales are on TikTok Shop. Okay, so we got that. In Texas, Jordan said that the store closing, or let's see, online clothing store caters to tall women. It could be really devastating if TikTok shuts down. But anyway, all these things, all these businesses will feel the impact if TikTok's literally closed down. Let's see. Free market's already solving the problem in the Beltway class. I don't know what that means. Let's see. Congress passed the ban, not China. Yep, this is not a China thing, folks. Now, TikTok is, I think, owned by China or partly owned by China. I had heard it was Singapore, but China beyond China and Israel. So there's all sorts of stuff about why they're banning it, sanctions by another name. But anyway, long story short, shut up and obey. That's essentially what we're looking at here. A couple of final thoughts. First, about the attitude of every decision maker in this progress or this process of closing it down. They're basically just saying, shut up and just obey. We're going to close it. But then I think this is interesting, and I'd be remiss not to say this. Elon Musk. So then Elon Musk comes out, and I don't know if any of you saw the article. I don't know how much truth there is to it, but he said he is trying to buy TikTok. Well, that doesn't surprise me at all. The richest man in the world, why wouldn't he want to own TikTok and X and CNN and CNBC? Might as well just go right down the line. But how many of you have read that article? Put it in the chat. How many of you have read that article that Elon Musk was literally making a run for TikTok? Anyone else see that? Pretty cool, right? Here's the problem, and this has always been an age-old thing with media. The person like Soros, good example. I'm sure when Soros started buying the media companies, he didn't have the same desires that he does now to pretty much control it all. But one other thing I forgot to mention over here about the TikTok article is any of the other social media sites, okay, with the exception of, I guess, X, but let's look at Facebook, let's look at Instagram. When the government comes in to, push over little boy Facebook boy, Mark Zuckerberg, they just comply. Oh, yes, no problem. We'll do this. Trump's coming in. So, now, Mark is like, oh, hey, we made a mistake. We were censoring. Yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. No. We're going to play by the new administration's rules. It's just like whatever way the wind blows, the little boy goes. I don't particularly like Mark Zuckerberg. I've watched his movie, Founder, and I thought that was cool, but just because I'm a tech founder as well. So I kind of liked that journey, and I liked the one thing where he fought for the ads going up on there because it made it uncool. So, but no one in Congress or the Biden administration tried to sell the American people. No persuasion, no cajoling, no imploring the people to perform their civic duty. No, none of that. Just cancel TikTok. Anyway, what's everybody thinking about that? Anyone got anything to say about TikTok? Truth hurts. That's why. Let's see. All speculation. Elon buy U.S. TikTok to own a bigger percentage of the social media. But yeah, let me finish what I was saying. Actually, I kind of got off on a rabbit hole there. But my fear is, let's say Elon keeps going out and buying media companies. He's got X now. Which at first he said he wasn't going to censor it. He wasn't going to kind of control it, but then he actually did, right? If people were saying bad things about him, he would censor that. So is he any better than Soros? Yeah, in the beginning, but over time, will it just become the same old, same old? I mean, when you control something and then you realize, wow, we can really control this, and we don't like people saying bad things about Trump, or we don't like people saying bad things about Elon, we'll just suppress that. But that makes you just the same as George Soros or anyone else in media. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, but it's an interesting thing. Rogan had him on, and it was a good episode. Yeah, Rogan's got a lot of good episodes out there. Let's see. So we already talked about the energy. We talked about the 5 days until Trump takes office and how Biden's really trying to kind of push the recession into it, which I think it's literally just going to be a flip. But let me kind of come back to what I opened with. I want to come back over here to this article here. This is another one of those newsletters, and it basically just says, stocks look to break lower. Another sign of a top on December 16th. So basically, as we go into the new year, already we have signs of a failed Santa Claus rally, confirmed, and a failed first 5 days of trading in January. Strike two. There are technically 3 signs. Now, we didn't hit the third sign because the market popped back up. But now what he's going in here and he's saying, the indicator from Ned Davis, one of the very respected shorter term analysts, is saying that we could see further reversals here if stocks break down just a bit more. Now, stocks are not breaking down today. Matter of fact, stocks are breaking way up, as I mentioned. Let me just refresh this screen. Yep. Dow rally 733 points. Why? Does anyone remember what I said earlier? Core inflation rate slows to 3.2% in December, less than expected. Ooh. Just remember, the Fed's target was 2%. all that pain you all went through, those higher interest rates that you're facing on your credit cards, your car loans, your lines of credit. Oh, yeah, it's all for the greater good. You pay more so that they can get inflation down. And they created the inflation by printing all that money. But now they're saying rates slow to 3.2. Wait, hold on a second. Not long ago it was 2.7. Now it's 3.2. Anyway, let's just talk back about what's going on right here. Despite minor bounces in stocks in the downturn since January 13th, so the markets have been going up since the 13th, what this indicator is saying is there's further weakness for stocks and there's a more significant top, and it's creating a bigger downturn. So a turn back down here will also increase the odds that January ends up down, and that would be another indicator that points down, because the third indicator is the entire January, okay? But that's going to be a tough one based on the market rallies that we've seen like the last couple of days. It's going to be tough to hit this last one. So I'm just telling you, like, we may not get that last one, but if it did end up down, what that would be is another indicator, and it's going to point down for 2025, which we've already got 2 confirmed indicators pointing down for 2025. And this is going to pave the way for the first 40 to 50% wave down. So another, he's basically saying that the first significant drop in the markets is going to be a doozy. What goes up must come down. And that's the trickiest part. So many people don't think that there's a downside to the market because we've been in the longest bull run in history. Like, literally, there's been really no down. Maybe a couple short downs in the market, but for the normal years, it's just like, or any long period of time, if you look at like a 3 or 5 year, it's been freaking just peaches and cream. It's been great. So people, especially younger generations like millennials and any of the Gen Zs, they don't understand that there's a downside. But as I mentioned with that person I met with, that 70-year-old, even the silent generation, even baby boomers are starting to kind of believe the bullshit. They've been through multiple recessions, but then they're like, oh, not this time. Nope. Fed's just going to print money. We're going to be good. It's going to keep going up. I'm going to keep making money. I'm going to be fine. Nothing to worry about. And then the financial advisors just feed that narrative. Well, heck, because they get paid to feed that narrative. I mean, that's how they're compensated. Let's not candy coat that one any. Oh, let's see what else. Quantum computing stocks rip higher on Microsoft's quantum ready directive. Quantum computing's been all over the news, and it's been up, it's been down. The one day quantum computing companies were way down, but hey, now they're up today because why? Well, Microsoft's quantum ready objective. Oh, so Microsoft comes out and says, hey, we have an objective, and the whole quantum computing thing shoots up. Makes sense. Yep. Makes perfect sense. What else we got? Fractional hiring creates a paradigm shift in the workplace. Yeah, I agree. 100% on that. We're using fractional we're using a fractional CFO. We are. We're using a fractional CFO, but not anymore. Actually, I'm sorry. We now have a full-time CFO, but we have a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, that's fractional. CTO, yep, fractional. So that's kind of definitely the way it is going. You're hearing more and more about fractional CEOs, fractional CMOs, fractional CTOs. So I already mentioned Citigroup. That's kind of bouncing around. Let's see, Goldman shares. Yep, already talked about Goldman. So all the big Fed access banks are all seeing positive at your expense. So, you might as well, you just be expecting a letter of thank you from all the banks that you pay interest to. They're going to be sending you thank you letters in some box of chocolates, or maybe Antoinette Sweets, which is one of the best chocolates around here. We got sponge candy. Any one of you ever had sponge candy? It's kind of like a Buffalo thing, but if you haven't, Antoinette Sweets is a great sponge candy. Tariffs, I've just beat the shit out of that. So I really don't feel like talking about tariffs. Let's see. U.S. imposing new export controls on biotech equipment over China concerns. Disney wins the 2024 box office as the year-end receipts offer a welcome boost. BlackRock, this is a frightening one. BlackRock pretty much owns everything, and their assets hit records, $11.6 trillion. $11.6 trillion in the fourth quarter. That's what BlackRock assets are. They literally own everything. So if you want to point your finger at anybody that's creating the havoc and kind of pulling the strings on this little thing, I'm pointing my fingers there. Between them and Vanguard, the assets Vanguard has and the assets that BlackRock and Blackstone have, you combine all them, they own everything. They own everything. Let's see what else we got. I found some other things. Yeah, hard to find starter homes. Let's see. Mortgage demand is mixed. Interest rates hit highest level since May. It's literally just all over the place. And I don't know. I think the thing that I'm just going to kind of go back on is the thing that we talked about earlier. I'm just trying to find this other article, but it's probably going to be hard in the last couple of minutes that we've got here, but there's so many articles. So many articles. This one was funny. I read this. Mine's bigger than yours is the topic on this economic newsletter. When Donald Trump returns to the Oval Office, one of the official acts is to rename Denali Mount McKinley after President William McKinley. If you're like me, you probably didn't know the name of the U.S. tallest mountain ever changed, nor would you even care. But let's get into one final discussion. Then I'm going to come over and take some questions here. Looks like we got a couple up here on Instagram that came in, a few questions. And then I'm going to get to God's Country 714. And then I'm also going to hit some of these YouTube ones. But let's talk about the external revenue service. How many of you have heard of the external revenue service? Any of you been kind of following that? Well, I got an article on that. So I'm just going to read this. I'm not going to share the screen, but I'm just going to read it because many of you have already seen this. So Donald Trump is again, adding another thing to his first. He's going to have a really long, you ever like wake up and you just got a super busy day at work, like where you're like, I'm never going to get all this shit done. Donald Trump, January 20th. Can you imagine what that day is going to be like? Like all the things he said he's going to do. Number one, he's going to end the war in Russia, Ukraine. He's going to sign all these bills. He's going to do all these things and strike all these things down. And I guess now, let's see, I'll just read it. President-elect Donald Trump said today that he wants to create an external revenue service. That sounds pretty interesting because, you got the internal revenue service, which we all love so much, right? Hint, hint. Now we're going to have the external revenue service. And the goal of the external revenue service is to collect tariffs and other revenue from foreign countries, comparing it to the internal revenue service, which collects taxes from you and I, from Americans, not the illegal immigrants. They don't pay taxes, but they still get, services. They still get cell phones. They still get housing. Yes, they're probably living in some of your houses, right? No? Okay, good. But anyway, didn't mean to hit below the belt there. For far too long, we have relied on taxing our great people using the internal revenue service through soft and pathologically weak trade agreements. And the American economy has delivered growth and prosperity to the world while taxing ourselves. Trump said that. Okay. It is time for us to change that. Woo! I'm all about that. I am today announcing that I will create the external revenue service to collect our tariffs, duties, and all other revenue that comes from foreign sources. Yeah, so not from your pocket, foreign sources. China, India, I don't know, all the other countries, maybe even Canada, if they don't decide to become the 51st state of the United States of America. I mean, listen, like anyone of you see that like land map where they kind of blend Canada in there? Looks kind of cool, doesn't it? Like the Canada, America. Yeah, I'm liking it. I mean, I like Canada, and I think Canadians would love our taxes. Anyway, keep going on with this. So he said it's time for change. I'm going to be announcing the creation of the External Revenue Service to collect. Yeah, I already said that. Trump is looking to ramp up tariffs on goods from Canada, Mexico, and China. He said he will enact tariffs of 25% on all Canadian and Mexican goods, and another 10% tariffs on to all Chinese goods through an executive order on his first day in office. His first day in office. That alone is like a full day. Like any of you thinking that, like your first day in the office, right? You just get to a new job and you say this, on my first day, I'm going to create the External Revenue Service. Then I'm going to ramp up tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China. And then I'm going to enact 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexican goods and another 10% tariff on all Chinese goods through an executive order. And all in his first day in office on Monday. And to boot, it's a Monday, right? Like, so, everyone loves going to work on Monday. It's that favorite day of the week. Come off of the weekend. He's probably going to be over at Mar-a-Lago playing golf. And then Monday comes and, well, that's just one thing on his plate. What are you all thinking about the external revenue service? Anyone got anything to say? Let's come up here. God's Country 714 on Instagram said, it's funny they are banning TikTok due to a national security, but yet China can buy large areas of land in the USA without any issues, but a social media platform is more dangerous. Totally agree. Totally agree. And that's just getting started. Like that's just one of the things. It's kind of like they're talking about banning TikTok, but yet they allow all these other things, like all these little drones flying around, New Jersey. And, you had that blimp, right? That balloon that was flying around. Yep. That was confirmed. That was China. And we just let that thing fly around until we shot like a, $10 million, $5 million missile at it. Like, couldn't like a kid in his backyard just pulled out a 22 and taken that balloon down? Like, seems like that would have been a better economic move. I mean, we had to scramble a jet. Who knows how much it costs to scramble a jet? And then that jet went up there and shot a missile, a couple $1 million heat-seeking, radar detecting missile at a balloon. And it blew up. But I mean, I just don't see that was a good use of funds. But who am I? I mean, shit. I guess, we spend money on nice coffee here. Maybe we should just buy the cheap shit. So who's keeping track of that? Let's see, what else do we got here? Let's see. Dron King said they do pay taxes. I don't know if they're referring to Canada. They pay lots of taxes. I have a lot of friends from Canada because we're pretty much Canadian here in Buffalo. 15 minutes and I'm over the border. And so we know a lot of Canadians. And the ski resort where we go, it's mostly Canadians. You believe everything he says. T. Jerome King says you believe everything he says. What do you mean? I believe everything he says. I don't believe he's going to pull off all the things he said he's going to on the first day of office. So that's not true. There's one thing I don't believe he's going to do. In 2016, when he was in office, there was a lot of things he said he was going to do that he didn't do. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. So do I believe everything he says? No, I'm just reading off of the news, man. So why don't you just crawl back under the covers and just go back to sleep and dream of the beautiful world we lived in under the Biden administration, because that's clearly what you're thinking. T. Jerome said tariffs are a tax on Americans. It's like talking to a child. T. Jerome King, you've never been on this show before because I've talked about tariffs and I've talked about how it's going to increase the cost of goods for all Americans, how it's going to be inflationary for Americans. But yet you come on one show and you think, oh, I'm the king shit. I'm just going to come on and call this Chris guy out. Fuck you. Go back to bed because you probably don't even leave your house. You probably don't have a fucking job. And you're going to come on and just say one thing. There. Now I got to do my rant. You're not a critical thinker. At least we got one hater today. I mean, gosh, I should be thankful that at least finally I got one hater today. So thank you. Thank you. Thanks to my hater. Appreciate it. Undocumented immigrants pay taxes. Really? That's a new one. Show me proof of that. Undocumented illegal immigrants pay taxes. That's a new one. You hear that, everybody? T. Jerome King from Instagram said that undocumented illegal immigrants pay fucking taxes. Wow. I just learned something. I had no idea. I had no idea that they paid taxes. Interesting. God's Country said Biden America sucks. Okay. And then God's Country said Chris is the GOAT. I learned a lot about BYOB. But yeah, but listen, like T. Jerome King says, and then he says sales tax. Sales tax. Okay. You're right. Actually, see, he got me. He got me. Good job. You're right. You're absolutely right. So undocumented illegal immigrants do pay taxes. Man, you really got me on that one. They pay sales tax. Yeah. So when they buy ammo, they pay sales tax. When they buy milk, they pay sales tax. When they buy goods and services, they pay sales tax. If they put gas in the stolen car they're driving, they're paying tax on that too. So you are right, man. Thanks for joining us. Everybody, like we all just learned something. Like I was wrong. And I'm wrong a lot. But that's awesome. Thanks for joining, man. Appreciate it. Let me come down and hit some other questions down here and give some love to YouTube. Let's see. His wrist is going to be hurt in the first day. Yep, I agree with that. To be fair, he's had 4 years to prepare for this first day of work. Yep, you're right there, Chris Ash. If anyone wants to know the mindset of the incoming administration as it pertains to trade, tariffs, etc., the book No Trade is Free, written by Robert Leitenheiser. So that would be a good book to read. Another good book you all want to read about tariffs is a great book. It's called The End of the World is Just the Beginning. End of the world is just beginning. And here's a cool thing, more so for T. Jerron King. The End of the World is Just Beginning is written by a Democrat. And I have read that book twice. I very much enjoy that book. He's a Democrat, and he wrote a book, and he just hits the facts, geopolitics, and all sorts of stuff, and tariffs, like the impact of tariffs. And one thing, T. Jerome King, that I've spent a lot of time doing is studying tariffs, past history. Like that history stuff that we're supposed to learn in school. And I've studied what has happened in prior eras, prior empires, and how tariffs had been used. And here's the thing. You're right. It's going to suck in the beginning. Cost of goods is going to go up. Inflation is going to go up. It's going to sting. But we're already going to end up in a recession anyway. So it's just going to add to the sting. But then what's going to happen is, just like it has every other time tariffs have been used, similar to what the new administration is going to do, it will provide for a really good revenue source for this country. It will definitely force more of an American first mentality. But also what it will do is the same thing that it did before. Now, any of you that know Japan's a really cool place, great culture. But if you all remember back, I believe it was the 80s, when Japan started making cars, and they were shipping the cars over here, and the U.S. Auto manufacturers didn't like that. So we put big tariffs on Japanese cars. So what did Japan do? Anyone want to tell me, if any of you follow Toyota or Honda or any of the Japanese car manufacturers, what was the reaction to the tariffs? Anyone? T. Jerome? Do you know what happened? Japan set up shop here in the United States of America. They built huge manufacturing facilities here in the United States of America. And guess who they hired? American workers. They hired lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of American workers to build those Japanese cars known as Toyota and Honda and Hyundai and Kia and all those other ones, all Japanese, all manufactured here in the United States of America, all because tariffs. And you mark my word, exactly what happened then will happen again. But yes, you're right. We are going to feel the sting. It's going to hurt. We're going to have much higher. Well, I don't know about much higher. We're going to have higher prices. And then here's another thing that's going to happen. If you study history and what happens when the tariffs get put in place, which sounds like it's going to be January 20th, what China is going to do. See, China has really big margins on that huge trade deficit of over $400+ billion in deficit. So we import $400+ billion more than China does. So we're bringing all their goods over here. Now we're going to put this big tariff on them. What do you think China's going to do? You think they're just going to kind of slap it to the American companies that buy goods and services from Chinese companies and say, "Oh, F you"? No. China is going to have to reduce the cost of the goods so that we as Americans still want their goods. And then you know what else is going to happen? American manufacturers that manufacture a lot of goods and services, and this is already happening, and you can follow companies like oh gosh, what's that company? Anyway, it'll come to me, that mug company that's really popular, Yeti. What they're going to do is these companies in the U.S. are going to resource all of their manufacturing to countries like Vietnam, countries where there's like a 10% tariff, not a 60% tariff. Oh, and also lots of those jobs will come back to the United States of America. So all these illegal immigrants will become legal immigrants, and then they will work in these factories and these jobs that most Americans don't want to work in. And you see, immigration is a great thing. As a matter of fact, immigration, sorry, I'm going to go over here. Immigration is an absolutely necessary thing. It has to happen. It is one of the most vital things for the growth of the GDP of the United States of America. Why? Well, because every other country has a declining aging population. The U.S. and maybe India and a few others have a stabilized population, although U.S. population is going down because baby boomers are retiring and there's just not enough millennials, Gen Zs, Gen Xs to really fill that. But with immigration, legal immigration, what that does is kind of levels the playing field. So you're never going to see a big black eye put to immigration. We need immigration here in the United States of America. So many of these countries, these giant corporations, some would say monopolies, were created by legal immigrants. I'm just saying the illegal immigration, that's bad. Okay, but you're right. They do pay taxes, sales tax. Oh, let's see. We've got the Experience Mastermind coming up end of February. So make sure you get your tickets. We are running out of time there. Anyone wants to know the mindset, where did that difference between Biden is that he'll know what he's signing. Oh, yeah. Navigate your venture. So, to anyone else out there, so what he's saying is the difference between the Trump administration and the Biden administration is that Trump will actually know what the hell he's signing, where Biden doesn't know left from right, doesn't know what he's saying half the time. And if he does know what he's saying, it's not Biden at all. It's just a lookalike. That's conspiracy theory. China is buying land near U.S. military bases. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's major issues with China right now. But anyway, I don't know. I'm running out of time. I'm way over. This is awesome. Lots of stuff here. And the last thing I do want to say is Damian Robinson came in. Japanese yen is 150 yen to the USD, right? So just think about that. It takes 150 yen to equal 1 USD. It's cheaper to buy things here and ship it to America versus buying on Amazon. Just my observation being here and working on a ship. So Damien's over in Japan. Japan's an amazing place. If any of you don't, have it on your bucket list, please add it. I've never been, but it is absolutely on my bucket list. I love Japan. Always have. From the early days when I was in karate, I've just loved their culture. But the other interesting thing I want all of you to take note on, and if you haven't read it, it's called Shoe Dog. It's a book all about Phil Knight, the founder and owner of Nike. Nike went through this exact same problem. Nike used to manufacture all their shoes in Japan. Matter of fact, they used to work with this Japanese company, and they were a distributor for this shoe line. You got to read the book because the name is just eluding me right now. But nonetheless, before Nike was Nike, they were a distributor for another shoe line that was in Japan. Then all of a sudden, exactly what Damien's talking about is the yen fell to the US dollar, making it very expensive for Nike to continue to manufacture in Japan. So what did Nike do? Did Nike just say, fuck this, I'm just going to close the door? Now, Phil Knight got on planes, went over to China, set up some relationships with some Chinese factories to start building shoes. Same thing with Vietnam factories, and they solved the problem. The same thing is about to happen here in the United States of America. Yes, will China be the main destination for goods and services? No, but things will happen. China will set up shops here. They've already been buying land. They will set up shops here because they will have to. Other countries will benefit from this because we will move manufacturing there, and we will move manufacturing back into America because we have the resources here. If Biden stops signing off resources and making it difficult for us to get the most valuable resource we really have, which is oil. We have more oil and natural gas than pretty much anywhere else. Maybe you could argue Russia's got more, but we've got the goods here, but we got to be able to drill for it. We got to be able to bring it out of the earth. We got to be able to refine it. That's what we don't have. With that being said, folks, great comments, great stuff. Thank you, T. Jerome King, for coming on. He said they don't even get Social Security, they pay taxes into. Let's see. Well, you know what? Americans probably aren't going to get Social Security. I didn't get into that article, but that's another article I had. Americans probably won't even get the Social Security that they've been paying into their whole life because Social Security is about to be broke as a joke. It is unsustainable because the amount of people drawing from Social Security, there are not as many people putting into it. I don't know. They got to privatize that sucker. But you know what? There's not a single politician who will touch that with a 10-foot pole because that's their voters. And, well, yep, that's the end of democracy because they have found ways to buy votes. Anyway, enough on that. With that being said, join us this afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern, to learn how to get all the money back for every car you ever buy, drive, and own. And it doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican on that one because you know what? All you motherfuckers are buying cars, and I guarantee you guys all want to get your money back for every car you ever buy, driving on. With that being said, this has been an epic episode of What the Fuck Happened. We will see you this afternoon.